Hello and welcome numeracy learners. Today we're going to have a look at a level 1 practice paper called The Zoo. The Zoo. Look on your screen for the yellow highlighter. I'm using it as I go through the paper to help you keep track of where I am. Reading the question. Kenneth and Julie Robinson live in Lisburn and have 3 children, Zoe 14, Ben 11 and Christine 8. They are planning a trip to the zoo for all the family. Task 1. Getting to the zoo. The family are considering taking the train from Lisburn to Great Victoria Street, Belfast. The following table shows a section of the train timetable. This is it below. We'll come back to that shortly. Moving on. The Robinson family live 15 minutes from Lisburn train station. They plan to leave the house at 9:45 a.m. Kenneth says that the first train they could catch would be the 10:08 from Lisburn station. Question 1A, is Kenneth correct? And then there is a space for you to write your answer. Make sure you always put your working out in the space provided so you don't lose out on valuable marks for working out. I have enlarged the answer box over to the right hand side to make it easier for you to see. Question 1A, part 1, is Kenneth correct? So we're going to use the information that I've highlighted to find out what time the family will arrive at Lisburn train station. So they leave the house at 9:45 a.m. Then they walk for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes after 9:45 a.m. is 10 a.m. They will arrive at Lisburn train station at 10 a.m. Next, we look over to the left-hand side to the timetable to see what times the trains will be leaving. So we find Lisburn on the timetable and we look at the times. There's one leaving at 9:38, one at 10:08, which we know about, and one at 10:38. They will be too late for the 9:38 because they arrive there at 10. They will be there in time for the 10:08. So Kenneth is correct in saying that the first train they can catch is the 10:08. So the answer is yes. The first train they can catch is a 10:08. Next question. Question 1A. How many minutes will the train journey from Lisburn to Great Victoria Street take? Looking over to the right hand side of the page, the timetable, we know already the train leaves at 10:08 from Lisburn. We look in the timetable for Great Victoria Street and can see that it arrives there at 10:29. This is key information which I'm going to write in my answer space. And let's work it out. So from 10:08 to 10:18, 10 minutes. 10:18 to 10:28, another 10 minutes. To get to 10:29, another 1 minute. So we're going to add these three figures up, 10 plus 10 plus 1, which I've done over here, is 21. The answer is the time for the train journey is 21 minutes. Moving on. The admission fees to the zoo are shown in the table below. So this is the information in the table. The Robinson family will need to buy tickets for 2 adults and 3 children. Question 1B. How much cheaper will it be to buy a family day ticket than to buy individual tickets? So in the space provided, we need to work out how much it's going to cost to buy individual tickets and then compare it to the family day ticket of $32.50. So our working out is, we know that an adult ticket is $12.50. Therefore, 2 adults would be 2 times £12.50 is £25. We know that a child's ticket is £6.25. So we're going to find out the cost for 3 children. That's 3 times £6.25 is £18.75. Adding them together to give us £43.75. So we can compare that with a family ticket of £32.50. And what we need to do next is take away the cost of the family day ticket. So we take away $32.50 and that gives us our answer of $11.25. So the family day ticket is cheaper by £11.25. Next question. The Robinson family decide to take the car to the zoo. The cost of car parking at the zoo is £1.50 per hour. They plan to spend 4 hours at the zoo. If they book the car parking online, they will get a 10% discount. Question 1C. What is the cost of booking the car parking online? So to find out the cost, we have to take the hourly rate of £1.50 and multiply it by the number of hours that they are parking at the zoo. So £1.50 is the hourly rate times the number of hours is 4, gives us the cost of parking at the zoo £6. Then we have to find out the discount for parking online. It tells us the discount is 10%. So to find 10% of £6, we need to divide it by 10. So to divide £6 by 10, we move our decimal point one place to the left, and that will give us 0.60, which is 60p. So we know the cost of parking is £6 and we know our discount is 60p. We take that away from £6 to give us £5.40. So the answer cost of car parking online is £5.40. Moving on. On the way to the zoo, they decide to stop at a local garage to buy some sweets and drinks for the journey. These are shown in the table below. This is the table here. Some information is missing from the table. Question 1D, part 1. Complete the table above. So looking above at the table, we can see that there is information missing from here and from here. So first of all, looking at the crisps, we can see that the cost of each packet of crisp was 65p. We don't know how many packets were purchased, but we do know that the total cost was £1.95. So to work out the number purchased, we take the total cost of £1.95, divide by the cost of each, which is 65p, and that will give us 3. So 3 were purchased. We can write 3 in the box above. Moving to the drinks next. We know, or we don't know, the cost of each drink, but we do know that 5 drinks were purchased, and we do know that the total cost was £6. So calculate the total cost of £6 divided by the number bought, which is 5, will give us £1.20. So the cost of each was £1.20, and that can be written in the box above. Question 1D, part 2, over to the right hand side of your screen. What is the range of prices in the total cost? You should know that the range is the difference between the largest and the smallest. Now it asks us to find the range in the total cost. So we look over to the table and we find the total cost column. And looking down the column, we can see that the largest cost is £6 and the smallest is £1.60. So in your answer box, to calculate the range, we put down the largest, take away the smallest, which is £1.60, and that will give us £4.40. So the range in the total cost is £4.40. Moving on. Task 2. The Robinson family visit the monkey enclosures. Each enclosure has a different breed of monkey within it. The number of each breed is shown in the bar chart below. So the title, Breeds of Monkey and their numbers. We can see the graph is labelled at the bottom, Breeds of Monkey, and labelled along the side, Number of Monkeys. Question 2A, part 1. What is the average mean number of monkeys per enclosure? So this question is about finding out the mean average, and as you know, to do that you add up all the numbers, then divide by how many numbers there are. So the first thing I would do would be to check the scale of the graph. So Up here, I would look to see how many lines there are from 0 to 5. I can count that there are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that tells me that each line represents one monkey. So this is important to check this before I start to get information from the graph. So first of all, I'm going to check the black and white monkey enclosure. I go to the top of the bar here and I draw carefully a line over to the left hand side. You should be using a ruler and pencil so you get an accurate reading. You can see that the reading is one line before 15. So that means 1 before 15 is 14. There are 14 monkeys in the black and white monkey enclosure. I'll do the same for the long-tailed monkeys. I work from the top of the bar, carefully draw a line across to the left-hand side, take my reading. I can see it's one above 25, so that would be 26. Do that for each of the enclosures. You will see 33 spider monkeys. There are 10 blue monkeys and 12 howler monkeys. So to work out the average, I have to find out the total monkeys. That means to add all of those up. So 14 plus 26 plus 33 plus 10 plus 12 is equal to 95. Now once I've done that, I need to divide by how many numbers there are. So you can see that there are 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's because there are 5 enclosures. So I divide 95 by 5 to give me the average number of monkeys per enclosure, and the answer is 19. Moving on, question 2a, part 2. Look for the enlarged box on the right hand side. 3 new spider monkeys are introduced into the enclosure. What will be the total number of spider monkeys now? So the first thing I have to do is look over to the graph to see how many spider monkeys currently are there. There are 33. I add 3, so the total number of spider monkeys will be 36. Moving on, next question. Zoe and Christine visit the bird enclosures. They make a note of the types of birds they see and how many there are of each type. Some of Zoe and Christine's results are shown in the table below. This is our table here. Zoe draws a pictogram to show their results. Title: Pictogram showing types of bird and their numbers. So looking at the pictogram, we can see they have listed the type of bird along the left and that there are pictures to give us information about the numbers. So it's important to note the scale. Zoe records the scale as being 1 complete picture is equal to 6 birds. Question 2b, part 1. Show that the pictogram has been drawn correctly for the budgies. So looking across to the left at the table, we can see that there are 27 budgies in the enclosure. Therefore, the pictogram should represent 27 budgies. Looking at the pictogram, we find the budgies and we look at the pictures there, and we can say from the scale that each picture has a value of 6 birds. Then we get to a half picture. So we need to calculate the value of a half picture. If we know that a full picture is equal to 6 birds, then a half picture is 6 divided by 2, that equals to 3. So in our working out box, we can add up all the values. So there are 4 6s and a 3 gives us 27, and that is correct. An alternative, possibly quicker way to do this would be to note that there's 4.5 pictures. That's 4.5, and 4.5 pictures multiplied by the scale of 6 is 27. Question 2b, part 2. How many parrots are in the bird enclosure? So looking at the pictogram, we find the parrots, and again we can attach a value to each picture. So there are 7 full complete pictures, each with a value of 6, and there's a half picture with a value of 3. So in our working out box, we can add these all up, and that will give us 45 birds. That would be 45 parrots. And again, the alternative method to calculate that, we know that there's 7.5 pictures. That's 7.5. So 7.5 pictures times the scale is 45. Our answer, number of parrots, 45. Moving on. The zookeeper carries animal feed in a cart. The cart is loaded with the following bags of animal food: monkey food, bird seed, another bird seed, and nuts. The cart must not carry more than 15 kilograms in total weight. Question 2C over to the right. Can the cart hold the total weight of the 4 bags of animal food shown? So looking back to the left-hand side at the 4 bags of animal food, we can see that the bird seed is expressed in grams, whereas everything else is expressed in kilograms. It's important to get the correct answer. We must work in the same unit of measurement. So the first thing we need to do is to convert the bird seed, which is in grams, to kilograms. So we know that there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. So that means we have to divide 750 grams by 1,000 to find out how many kilograms that is. So to divide by 1,000, we move our decimal point 3 places to the left, 1, 2, 3, and that gives us 0.75. So 750 grams is equal to 0.75 of a kilogram. So we can note that just here. And our next task is to do our calculations. We have to add up the animal food to get our total weight. So we have our monkey food, which is 12.5. We have our bird seed, which is 2 boxes of bird seed at 0.75 kilograms, and then we have our nuts at 1.2 kilograms, adding them all up to get 15.2 kilograms. So 15.2 kilograms is more than 15 kilograms, which is the maximum weight the cart can take. So the answer, can the cart hold the total weight, is no. Moving on. The diagram below shows a plan view of the meerkat enclosure. This is it here. The feeding center is a square with sides of 200 centimeters. So in the middle of the enclosure there is a feeding center, and it's a square with sides of 200 centimeters. Question 2D. What is the area of the enclosure not including the feeding center? So to find the answer, we first have to find out the area of the enclosure. Then we find out the area of the feeding center and take that away from the area of the enclosure. So first of all, calculating the area of the enclosure, it gives us the formula here. Area of a rectangle is the length times the breadth. So the length of the enclosure is 11.25 meters. The breadth is 3.2 meters. So 11.25 times 3.2 is 36 square meters. Next, to find the area of the feeding center. So we can see that it's 200 centimeters at each side. So because it's a square, all sides are the same. Now, 200 centimeters is a different unit of measurement, so the first thing I need to do is to change that into the same unit of measurement, otherwise our answer will be incorrect. So there are 100 centimeters in a meter. We have to divide 200 by 100 to find out how many meters that is. So moving our decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will give us our answer of 2 meters. So we know that each side of the square is 2 meters. To find the area of the square, we multiply the length by the breadth, so that would be 2 by 2, and that would give us 4 square meters. So we know the enclosure is 36 square meters. The feeding centre is 4 square metres. We take that away and that gives us our answer. The area of the enclosure is 32 square metres. Next question. Task 3. The zookeeper starts feeding the animals at 9:15 a.m. It takes the zookeeper the following times to feed each of the different types of animals. So here there's 3 different types of animals and the times written beside them. Question 3a. Will the zookeeper have fed these animals by 12 p.m.? So I need to find out the total feeding time and then work forward from 9:15 a.m. That's the start time. So I can see here that 1¼ hours plus 3/4 of an hour is 2 hours. That's the giraffes and the lions. 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour. Lions is 1¼ hour, so that's 2 hours. And there's still 40 minutes to add to that. So add 40 minutes and the total feeding time is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So working out, we start at the start time, add our 2 hours later, which is 11:15. And because I find it easier to visualize a clock, I can add 30 minutes fairly easily to bring me from 11:15 to 11:45. But it's 40 minutes I needed to add. I've only added 30, so I've still another 10 minutes to add. Again, visualizing the clock, that brings me from 11:45, which is 11:45. Adding on the 10 minutes would bring me to 11:55. So is the feeding finished by 12 p.m.? The answer is yes. Next question. The pie chart below shows how the zoo receives their income. Title of the pie chart, Zoo Income. Question 3b, Part 1. What percentage of the zoo's income is made up of ticket sales? So looking up at the pie chart, we can see that ticket sales is clearly marked and that it takes up 1/4 of the pie chart. That would be if the pie chart was divided into 4 equal parts, it would take up one of those parts. So that would be 1/4. So hopefully you will remember that 1/4 is expressed as a percentage as 25%. If you were unsure of that, you could work it out. To find 1/4 of 100%, it's simply 100 divided by 4, which is equal to 25. So the question gives us further information. The income from the City Council is 500,000 per year. I'm going to mark that on the pie chart here, 500,000. The income from donations is 175,000 per year. So again, I'm going to mark that on the pie chart, 175,000. Question 3b, Part 2. What is the income from sponsorship per year? So looking at the pie chart, we can see the area marked sponsorship, and the question is to find out, asking us to find out how much that is in pounds. So we'll have to work on what information we know. We can see from the pie chart that donations plus sponsorship will make up 1/4 of the pie chart. So we need to find out the value of 1/4 of the pie chart. Now looking at the income from the City Council, we can see that half of the income is 500,000. So we know to find 1/4 is 1/2 of 1/2. So to find half of 500,000, we can divide it by 2, and half of 500,000 will be 1/4 of the pie chart, and that works out to be 250,000. So we can say that 1/4 of the pie chart is 250,000. So we can see that donations plus an unknown amount will equal 250,000. So let's do our working out. Donations plus sponsorship make up 1/4. To find a quarter, we find half of 500,000. So you can divide 500,000 by 2, and that will give you 250,000. So we know that 250,000 is a quarter. Therefore, 250,000 less the donations of 175,000 will give us the figure for the sponsorship, which is 75,000. We can check our answer. So we know that donations is 175,000. Add to that the sponsorship of 75,000, which we've just found out, and make sure it adds up to 250,000, which is a quarter of the pie chart, and it does. So therefore the income from sponsorship is £75,000. Next question. A conversion graph for litres and gallons is shown below. Litres to gallons conversion is the title of the graph. We can see it's labelled gallons along the bottom and litres along the left hand side. The elephants need 400 gallons of water per week. Question 3C. Using the graph above, estimate the number of litres of water the elephants need per week. So we're going to use a conversion graph to show us the equivalent of 400 gallons in litres. So you can use a ruler and a pencil to draw a line upwards from 400 to meet the blue line, which I have done here. And then you're going to, at the point where it meets, you're going to draw your line over to the left hand side. Again, use a ruler for accuracy. And this will bring us to this point. Then we need to read the information from the graph. Now, it's always a good idea to make sure you know the scale of the graph so as you're using the correct information. And here I can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines which take me to 500. So that effectively means that each line is worth 100 litres. So when I go to read the information here, I can see that my line has come past the 1500 litre mark by 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. So that means 1500 plus 300 gives me 1800 litres. So the water needed for elephants is 1800 litres. Moving on. The zoo can use 2 different shapes of drinking troughs for the giraffes. These 2 troughs are shown below. So below it shows us the volume of the trough 1, which is 1.5 cubic meters, and then to the right is trough 2. Moving on, the zookeeper will use the trough that holds the larger volume of water. Question 3D over to the right hand side, which trough should the zookeeper use? So this question involves us calculating the volume of trough 2 and then comparing that with the volume of trough 1. So taking a note that the trough 1 is 1.5 cubic meters, then to calculate the volume of trough 2, it tells us here how to calculate the volume of a cuboid, that's length by breadth by height. So to find the volume, we multiply the length, which is 2 meters, by the breadth, which is 1 meter, by the height, which is 0.5 meters. And when we do that, we'll get 1 cubic meter. So 1 cubic meter is less than 1.5 cubic meters. So the answer is the zookeeper should use trough 1 because it is the one with the largest volume. And that brings us to the end of the exam. Well done, everybody.